You're listening to the Savoir Faire audio experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, guys, welcome to the Savoir Faire audio experience. We are almost, we are on episode 24 already. These things are popping out really fast. And today, guys, I have a very special treat for you. This is a country music artist that just came on the scene about 8 years ago or so, but she is killing it for so many different reasons. And this morning I woke up with my boots getting to talking and everything. So I'm trying to use my draw here a little bit, but hello, Brei Carter. Good morning.
Good morning, Robert. How are you?
I'm doing so well. I love your energy already. It's been great to kind of like connect and talk with you a little bit before we started recording. But man, there's so many questions I have for you. You're probably like, when I was doing research about you this morning before we did our interview today, it was impossible. There are so many things I wanted to ask you, and I had to line it up to like maybe 5 questions tops so we could fit this into a half an hour. So I want to say there's just so many good things that I ran across with you. And I mean, hearing your voice now, I mean, you're exactly the same as what you are online, because I was seeing interviews with you with other people. And this bubbly kind of energetic personality came out immediately. And I was like, man, I hope I get that same energy, but it's there. I love it. It's perfect.
Of course you're going to get it, Robert.
I love
especially, listen, you got them boots talking this morning already.
I was listening to everything. Yeah. I had to jam it all in. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to get that t-shirt, but I don't know.
Of course you are. I'm going to send you swag. Plus, you know what? I'm even going to send you a couple of extra shirts for any of your guests that you want to send them to.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I would love that. Yeah, I'll make sure I connect with you and give you an address to send that stuff to. So let's do a little bit of a timeline and introduce you to my audience a little bit. And I want to start from your roots, because you got a really kind of good roots story, and I love that. I mean, you kind of got raised in Louisiana. You're a Baptist church girl, very strong faith. You were a soldier and an officer. You got a medical degree. So prior to music, just break all that stuff down for me and talk a little bit about like growing up in Louisiana and what led you to Nashville.
You know what? Growing up in Louisiana, it was so amazing. And I can definitely say times today and times then are totally different. We used to have, obviously, prayer service, church on Sundays and what have you. I lived with my grandparents for a while also down in Louisiana. Literally, I'm not going to say we had a farm, but we gardened and all of those things. So we did a lot of things together with like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins and all of that. It was just big on family, and not only that, faith. Faith was just, I mean, God was the head of all of our lives. We prayed, we worshiped. By no means were we perfect, but it was just the foundation of how I grew up. And I grew up, I was a cheerleader. I sung in the choir. All of my aunts, the amazing thing is Lone Star Missionary Baptist Church. My entire family went to that church, my grandmother, my grandfather, you know, my aunts and uncles. And it's just like the entire choir. If it wasn't an aunt or uncle, it was definitely a cousin or someone that was like they were related to me. So growing up doing that, you know, and I used to sing, but I never found my voice in singing. And I joked about it when I was in high school. I'm like, oh, I'd love to be a country singer, and kind of fell by the wayside and what have you. And I just kept living life, going to college. And I've been in sales for a long time, decided to sign up to go in the military. And I was so gung-ho, I'm like, oh, I want to be a drill sergeant. When I went to basic training with 2 other female cousins, one on my mom's side and one on my father's side, they're like, Carter, you're going to be an officer. You're going to be an officer. I'm like, no, I'm going to jump out of planes. I like the excitement, the hoorah. And I went back to college and I joined ROTC and I got my commission as an officer when I graduated.
Awesome.
And I spent a little time in the military, and I did kind of settled into corporate life and what have you. And when my biological father passed away, unfortunately back in 2014, it just really hit hard in the fact that, you know, tomorrow's not promised to any of us. Too many times we say, oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. And just having faith and being a believer in God and just trusting him, it's just like, hey, if there's something you want to do, you better go for it, because I've given you the tools to do it. You can do it. You just got to start believing in yourself. And I started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward many years later, it brought me into music. And I'm just so passionate about it because I tell people, I'm like, music really heals. But since I was a little girl, music has always been a part of my life. And it's probably as I think back to maybe some trying times, maybe in high school, of being picked on and bullied a little bit, just being a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Music, I'm not going to say I think, music kind of really helped me through some of those hard times. Whether it was listening to gospel, whether it was listening to a little country, a little bit of soul, a little bit of rock. Literally, I truly grew up with all genres. But country just really, and more specifically, country soul just really spoke to me and what the path I believe God was putting me on.
Yeah, and I like that kind of uniqueness that you went that direction because, I mean, I'm a music lover. I'm like you. It's in my blood. I was in Nashville in like 97, 98, 99. I was singing and writing, doing all that fun stuff. So I know the story a little bit. But like that Louisiana gospel kind of like is still a part of you, and I can hear it in your music when I listen to your stuff this morning. But there's so many other genres that come from Louisiana in general, right? We got blues, we got jazz, we got all these things.
We got Zydeco.
Right. So
yeah.
like, where's the country influence? Did your parents kind of make you listen to like, Charlie Pride when you were a kid? Like, where's it all come from?
Yes. I'm glad you asked me that. So growing up, and at the time, we also lived in Oregon, so not just Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
But my father used to sing Charlie Pride, Kiss an Angel, Good Morning. That's why I decided to remake that song, kind of in honor of him and also as a tribute to Mr. Charlie Pride. But Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Tammy Wynette, literally grew up listening to all of that.
Same.
And
actually.
it was literally a part of me. So I kind of, by the grace of God, I kind of moved in the direction of a country soul into that aspect of it. But I grew up for the most part listening to the hardcore traditional country, and it still pulls on my heartstring whenever I hear those old traditional songs. So it's still very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, my upbringing in music was I didn't start doing anything in music myself as a writer or performer until I was 16. At least 16 or 17 when I moved to Nashville. But prior to that, I was getting influences from a lot of different people in family, right? So my mom was listening to the Commodores and all this kind of rock and pop music.
Yeah.
So I was hearing all of that. And then my aunts and uncles that were just a few years older than me because, situations in life, I was born to a teen parent. But I have aunts and uncles that are only a few years older than me, and they're listening to AC/DC, Metallica, like real heavy rock music. And then my grandmother, who's the biggest influence in my entire life, she was introducing me to everything you just talked about. Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline, all that really hardcore traditional country. And that's the reason why I ended up kind of like, well, I went to Nashville for different reasons, but when I got there and realized what it was all about, that's why country was my selection. Even though I had all these other influences of music, I knew that like, I'm kind of like that soft kind of guy. I want to write songs about life. I want to write stories. I want to reach multiple people with one lyric, right?
I love it. It's something you say that because people sometimes they ask, do you write all your music? And I do write, but sometimes songs are pitched, but it has to speak to me in order to sing it and to put it out there.
Right.
Because whether it's my story I'm singing or telling about, it's someone else's story that I'm passionate about that I definitely want to share and get the message out. But definitely that country music, it just talks to your soul. It just touches deep within, and it's just something about it. And even now, just wanting to really, there's so much hurting going on in the world, and it's just so much. Anytime you turn on the news, it's just like, okay, hurry up, please turn it off. Anytime you look at the paper or on the internet. So we got to bring it back. Like you just mentioned, the Commodores and Patsy Cline and all of that. It was a feel good music. It could have been a message that maybe wasn't so happy, but it was still a feel good feeling behind it. And I think that's what the world has been missing today. Just some of that good feel good music.
Right, which I think you are creating, by the way. I mean, when you're saying this to me and saying that people need to have this feel-good music, and I'm like, yeah, I was literally grinding in my seat here this morning to Boots Get to Talking. I'm like, I know these beats are there. And you know what? When I listened to that, too, I picked up on a little bit of hip-hop play there a little bit. Like, it wasn't totally 100% good old country hoedown music. Like, there was some cool little roots into this song that you kind of created.
You know what, Robert? Did you pick up on the Zydeco a little bit? Did you pick up on the Louisiana? The goal was, I mean, hey, gumbo. I grew up on gumbo.
Right,
So
right.
I want the world to have some of that gumbo. I want you to get a little of this, mix it together, and just come up with something that's undeniably great, and you just can't put down.
Yeah, no, I love it. So talk to me about like I mean, we've talked a little bit about music inspiration and thing like that, but like when you're just sitting down with your guitar and you're thinking about writing your next song, what kind of things are you pulling from? What kind of energy do you pull from? Is it your own stories, other people's stories, things that you write down? Like, are you jotting down ideas all the time, which is something I used to
Yes.
do? Like, talk to me about your process.
Yes, I am definitely. Anytime I come up with something, I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I got to put this in my notes. I have tens of thousands of notes in my phone. That's probably why my phone memory is kind of going out these days. But that's exactly what I do. If I get an idea, I'm definitely jotting it down. And then when it's time to sit down and write, honestly, I pray, okay, Lord, what's the message? What should I be writing about? And at that point in time, because I feel that if I always keep God in the head of it, that things are going to pan out. But don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by no means, so I'm not saying all that to say this. But I sit down, I pray, okay, what's the message? Then if I'm writing it by myself or with someone else, it's a little different. And we kind of take ideas together. We throw a couple of things out there. Okay, what are we feeling today? What do we want to say? What's the message? And all of a sudden we start going from there, and then we start adding chords and music to it as well. But sometimes I'll get pitched a track or something, and then I'm writing to that track. And it's whatever the track is saying to my spirit, to my soul. Or it could be a story or something that a friend of mine called me and what they were going through. And it doesn't always have to be, hard times and what have you. Sometimes it's, hey, girl, oh, my goodness, I went to the store and this is what happened. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, that is pretty good. And, someone recently said, I got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Every time someone says I have a problem, we always maybe think that it's something negative. I got a problem with smiling too much. I got a problem with always being happy. I got a problem shopping. And sometimes some people are like, oh my goodness, you have a problem shopping. But sometimes people are shopping and then everything that they buy, even if they don't need it, they're giving it away to someone else. Mm-hmm. So it's just not about them and mine. It's just the good feeling that they have behind certain things. So it comes from that process. And then from there, start writing. Sometimes I can get done with that song in an hour or a couple of hours, but sometimes I have to put that song down and come back to it. Right. And finish writing it at that point in time. Yeah, but I kind of just let the process go, and it's not, okay, we have to be done with this by this time, or it has to be this. Kind of just let it go the direction that it's meant to go in.
No, I feel you. And writer's block is always going to be a part of this thing. That's exactly what it is. Like I've written songs that have flowed out and like you said, within a couple hours, and I've had other things that have turned into projects. And it's like, at some point you'll be like, this might have to be a co-written. I might have to show this to somebody and get some feedback because this has got to go somewhere, but I just cannot find that right hook, or I can't find that right piece to put into this chorus. Like something's got to kind of give here a little bit. So I can understand that process, but when you first start writing, you're writing down the idea before the music comes. Is that you like a step-by-step process?
I'm writing the idea. So I'm more of a lyricist versus more the melody. Okay. So I have to really hear the melody. So sometimes my songs, I can write it down and I can pitch it to someone else, and then they can help me with the melody and putting it together.
Okay. Do you play an instrument too, though? You play guitar?
Yes, I'm learning the guitar. I'm not totally all that good, but I'm learning.
Okay. We got to start somewhere.
I know my chords. Listen, I'm strumming and I'm putting it together. So definitely, I grew up playing the clarinet. I played the violin when I was a little girl. I traded that in for a clarinet. If I could go back and turn the hands of time, I would have kept that. Violin, and I'd be doing the fiddle today. Let's just say that, because anything that I can add a fiddle to, trust me, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes total sense, obviously. So you're having some success. You released a new album. You got some really good songs that are kind of really catchy and grabbing people. One of them, obviously, we talked about with Boots Getting Talking, but you have some other ones that are like Give 'Em a Girl. I listened to that one this morning. I listened to Brain Fart. Hold on, let me think. What was it called? Cake and Eat It Too. I listened to that too. I was like, did you try to poison this guy with a balloon? What happened there?
That's, have you seen it lately on socials and what have you?
Yes, I did. I saw there's a TikTok thing. Yeah, the red balloon thing where the guy walks in the room and there's like 10 girls and they all start popping their balloons. Like, that's the way of saying pass.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, he did this wrong. I don't like the way he said my name. I don't like the way that he was responding. Right. But it's not just about that. You can go anywhere. So it's just not about a guy and a girl. You can just go in a room and be like, okay, the energy is wrong. Pop. Okay, wait a minute. They cut that song off too soon. Pop. So it's just, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was laughing at some of the acting at the end when he pulled the balloon out of the cake, and I was like, "Ah, that's pretty funny." Like, and that's a good little moment right there. It's kind of cool. I like the dynamic of the video and the way it was laid out, and you must be killing it because the professional quality of the videos. You've been on tour now this year, right? So talk to me a little bit
Yes.
about your tour experience and where you've been, where you're going.
Yes, Boots get to talking to her. I've been almost everywhere on the West Coast. And actually I was planning to go on the East Coast. That show got postponed until springtime. But I've been to California. I've been to Texas. I've been to Louisiana. I've been to Georgia. I've been to Kentucky. I've been in Illinois. Going back to going out of when I took shows, I'm going out of the country. I'm going to be performing while I'm out of the country.
Wow.
And in Cabo. So doing that as soon as I get back, going to Arizona for a performance, and obviously still performing in Nashville.
Right.
But it's kind of like, hey, when God gives you a gift, don't sit around and wait for that opportunity. You better get out there and knock on the doors and create your own opportunity.
Right. Let me get into your little headspace here, Brei. Talk to me about like being on stage, just that piece of it, and seeing all of those people out there. Like, that's a different feeling for everybody. And you don't seem to have the stage fright kind of aspect, but I'm sure there's some nerves involved in getting up in front of people and performing your songs and wondering if they're going to love you. And there's still a piece of that, right? So like, put me in that headspace for a little bit and just talk to me about your preparation, like, or just the aftermath. Like, are you just drained when you're done performing?
You know what? I'm drained, but I'm more on high.
Yeah.
I'm more on a high than I am drained afterwards. I leave everything out on the stage. But going back to what you said prior to, sometimes unfortunately I get in my head too much and I overanalyze. So I really need a little bit of quiet time and kind of like shutting down everything else prior to performing, because I'm going to think, okay, what if they don't like this? What if they don't like that? And it used to be really bad. And I literally have to lay down and have that quiet time where there's nothing else. There's no text messages. There's none of that. And I have to kind of shut out the outside world in order to go out into the outside world when it's time to perform. But I just realized, I'm like, okay, Lord, because I used to get nervous about it, and you can tell. And it's like, okay, God, you gave me this gift. Sometimes you only get one opportunity, and everyone may not like you, but as long as you go out there and you've done everything, and this is my mentality. If I've done everything I was supposed to do, and I did my best at the end of the day, and I touched at least one person in that crowd, I did what I was meant to do, what I was supposed to do. Exactly. So I kind of get out of my head so much now, and it's just like, you know what? I'm on the stage. They're here to see me. Even if they're not, some of them aren't here to see me, and they want to see the act after. In my mindset is just like, I got to give them a good show, because this is about me, because it's about them. So I got to make sure. There's a saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I try to make sure I'm practicing my vocalizing, still trying to practice guitar, because sometimes I'll have it out there playing some chords and stuff along with the band. But it's about, hey, you know what? They want to see a good show. People are out there. You never know who's dealing with what out there in the crowd. That's why I'm always about, showing and giving people grace, because you don't know why someone is acting the way they're acting. And it doesn't mean that it's okay for them to have bad behavior. But I also say just learn to have a little bit more grace. And if I could put myself in the shoes of anyone out there, and I've had a bad day or things aren't necessarily going well in my life, they want to see somebody on that stage to make them happy. They don't want to relive the sad things in the moments that they're going through. Mm-hmm. They want to live vicariously through you. They want that feel good. They want that feel good feeling, while they're watching you sing and dance and what have you. And for me, when I go on that stage, that's what I think about. And then by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh my goodness, I did it. I'm like, thank you, God. And then I'm ready to go out and meet the fans, meet people and mingle with people, because I feel that people just need love. People need to see other people showing them kindness. People need that smile. People need someone being genuine. And just because someone can look at me and they can frown, just because they're frowning, that doesn't mean I'm going to frown. I still want to show love, because you still don't know the difference that can make in someone's life.
Absolutely. Right. And you got a lot of lyrics that kind of grab people and pull them in. And that's kind of a cool thing too. So I completely understand kind of this entertainment mentality and being able to do that. I felt like I've only been on a couple of stages in my life that were kind of like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like, they get you a little nervous, and there wasn't anything at the level that you're at for sure. But like, some decent crowds of people. Like back in the day, they had the Jimmy Dean Showdown or songwriter contest or whatever back in the day, and I entered that and ended up making it to the state level in New York State, and
Awesome.
that was like 15,000 people that were at that final. So when you were up on that stage, that's a big thing. And you're like, wow, this is going to be, I don't know where this happens. But then there's like a switch that happens. As soon as you take that last step onto the stage, you're just like, okay, it's game time. Let's get this. And then, so you kind of feel that, right? Yeah.
I feel that totally. You're speaking my language, because by no means do I want to say I don't get nervous, because I definitely get nervous. But it's like you're standing in front of 10, 20,000 people, and it's just like, you got to do it. What are you going to do? Run off stage? No, you're there for a purpose. It's showtime.
Yeah,
you have to do it, and you have to do your best. I don't care what's going on with you. If you decided to step on that stage, you gotta give your best. You got to give it your all.
Right. So let's talk about stages for a second. You've been on a bunch all over the country. Which one is the highlight for you so far, and which one do you want to be on?
You know what? The highlight so far has been, it was a trail ride. I think there was about 15,000 people. And when I say the crowd, everyone dancing, everyone having a good time, everyone chanting your name and what have you, that in itself, it was so amazing, because people knew my songs that I was actually going to perform. And I only got a chance to do 3, but they knew those 3 songs, and they were doing the line dance to it. And it just felt like community, and I just felt the love, and it was just like no place like it. But then I've been on the stage where I was thrown out there and no one knew me. So trying to draw them in. And I was thinking, at the end, I was like, oh my goodness, no one enjoyed it. And at the end, people were looking for me, trying to find me. Oh my goodness, I love your music. I'm going to go and follow you. Oh my goodness, I love this. I love that. So literally, although I say the high was being on that stage with everyone knowing, there was also times where there was only 100 people in the crowd, but you could tell that you were touching everyone on different levels. So that in itself was just unbelievable. And the stage I'd love to be on someday, Super Bowl. Why not?
The Super Bowl. Let's go. Hello. I was waiting for you to say the Opry, and you were like, the Super Bowl. Let's go big time. Big time. I want everybody to know who I am.
Listen, why not? Don't get me wrong. Anyone in country wants to be on that stage at the Opry. But you know what? Super Bowl is just like, okay, I've arrived. You know, you're touching people that are there, households. It's just something like it. I mean, and if you're gonna dream, you better dream big. If your dreams don't scare you and they're not that big, they're not big enough.
Right, absolutely. And I think I need to do some research, because I'm not sure when we had a Super Bowl show that was all country artists. I can't remember exactly who was the last country artist to do the Super Bowl.
I can't think of one either.
I know, because I'm thinking, as soon as you brought it up, I'm running through my head, and I'm like, no, that's not. I mean, where are the country artists at? Was there not a big country show on the Super Bowl stage? Like Garth Brooks, maybe?
Did he do it?
I'm going to Google real fast. Hold up. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be interesting. I know there has been. I'm trying to think of who it was, though.
We're going to find out right now. Let's go Google. Reba McEntire, Chris Stapleton, but not recent. Neither of these were like recent. They've been on the stage.
Right.
I don't know. I have to really do some research. I'll let my audience know when we figure it out. So very cool. But you also played CMAs this year, right?
I did.
Yeah,
and
what a cool option.
Oh, that is amazing. And it was prior to me having the opportunity to do that, it was just a different feel being on the outside, looking on the outside, although I was an artist, looking at other artists performing. It's so different being behind the scenes and actually going on stage and performing and all of that. That is a wonderful thing. So I've had the opportunity to experience it both ways. And I tell people, hey, if there's an artist you like, go and see them, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us, and you may not get the opportunity to see them again. So go out and support your artists that are performing at these places, whether it's a small venue or a large venue.
You're not going to believe this. I just looked something up. I found the answer to the Super Bowl question. I want you to guess. The first solo country singer to perform the national anthem at the Super Bowl, and then who also had the halftime show. We already mentioned this person's name.
Was it Reba?
Close. So Shania Twain was the last Super Bowl country artist, but Charlie Pride was the last person to sing the national anthem as a country artist.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Pretty cool.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing. Because I love myself some Shania too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Shania Twain was the last country artist to do the halftime show. Charlie Pride, last country artist to sing the national anthem. That was in 1974 that he sang the national anthem.
Oh my goodness.
Good Lord, man. They gotta get it right over there.
Right. Oh, wait a minute.
They're missing out. It's America's game.
Carrie Underwood hadn't done the national anthem?
Take that. Yeah, she did it in 2010. Charlie Pride was the first solo country singer. Yeah, so he made the mark. Yeah, there's been a bunch since, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I said that incorrectly.
So you know what, Robert? I'm looking forward to Brei Carter at least doing the national anthem.
I mean, at least that. It just seems like it's lined up kind of, right? Like there's some things there. I don't know. The stars are lining in here a little bit. So
I love it.
Very cool. I want to talk about the Brei of Fresh Air real quick. And then I also want to drop your website and social stuff so people can find you. So talk to me about the Brei of Fresh Air, that entire project, that album, all of that good stuff.
You know what? We talked about it a little bit earlier, Robert. A Brei of Fresh Air is about that feel-good music. It's country, it's soul. You're going to get a little bit of gumbo. You're going to get a little of everything that I am and everything I have to offer. With that, you're going to get the country soul. You're going to get something that's going to be maybe a little bit of modern country. But every song on the album is telling a story about who I am. You know, cake and eat it too. The reality is sometimes people do want their cake and eat it too, but you can't. You have to, there's some things that you have to choose on. You know, Boots Get to Talking. It's just like, hey, when you hear that good music, you can't sit down. You got to start moving. It's about, family and friends and fun and good times. And there's no fighting. Everyone's getting along. And that's what it's about. We need to bring that home. You also got Cowgirl. Hey, you know what? I'm rough and tough. I like to ride horses. Hey, I like all of those things. I like all things country, all things nature, being out there. Everything isn't about being glammed and pretty. I can get dirty and I can get rough and tough. So it's about all of that too. It's about Sun is Still Shining. It's an anthem song. It's about there's love after breakup. It's not the end because a relationship didn't work out or something in life didn't work out. You know what? Hey, you know what? Grab a beer or grab some tea if you don't drink, or some coffee, whatever your beverage is of choice. You know what? Sit back, relax, and see the brighter side of things, because at the end of the day, the sun is still going to shine when it's all said and done. And not only that, the country lives in me. No matter what, no matter where I go, the country is still in me, and no matter where I am, and it'll always be in me. You can't take it away, even if I'm not in the country. And that's what a Brei of Fresh Air is. It's like, hey, you know what? We need something different. We need something just a little bit unique, something that everyone else isn't doing, and that's what I was hoping to bring with a Brei of Fresh Air.
Yeah, and I think you are, because I've definitely listened to the album and listened to some of the songs, and there's a lot of this stuff out there, obviously, that people can listen to, so they can go to BreiCarter.com. You're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, which is where I was getting all my information this morning and watching videos. People need to go over there and check all that stuff out. You're also on Spotify and all the other major platforms for music. So, I mean, you're getting out there, Brei. I think you're going to have a really successful career, and I'm hoping to kind of track you a little bit and see what's going on. I just think there's a lot of things lining up for you right now, and it's really impressive to see kind of you moving forward. And I think that you got this background of faith and being a soldier and in the medical field, and you've just dealt with so many unique people that I think that's the perfect tools, the perfect defense to be able to get out there and do everything that you need to do going forward. So I'm impressed with you. I really am.
Thank you so much, Robert. And ain't no stopping me, because I'm going to keep going. And the other thing, thank you for being a part of my journey by having me on your show. This is amazing. I want to remind you that I'm definitely sending you swag for some of your listeners too. And definitely, I just appreciate it. I don't discount anything. I'm like, hey, you thought of enough of me for me to be on your show, or anyone. I mean, it means a lot. Like I share with you, if you touch one, you've done your part. That's what it's about. I am my brother's and my sister's keeper. It is about looking out for the next person and definitely touching people through music.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I'll hit you up on the gram to get that T-shirt thing going, and then we'll go from there. But you have a great career and a good life, and I hope I cross paths with you someplace in real life. I want to come to a show and see what the energy is like. I think that'd be really cool.
I would love that. Wait a minute. I need to write with you too. You said you're a writer. Hey, I need you to.
Yeah, I do write. I've been writing since I was 16 years old, so I do a lot of that stuff.
We need to pin some time on the calendar. We need to do that, honestly. And I'm not just saying this because we're on the show. I would love to do that. Absolutely
would love to do that with you. I think that would be incredible. So we'll definitely connect and we'll get some things organized. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a little writing session with you and seeing kind of what comes from that energy. I think that'd be really cool. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. You have an amazing rest of the day, and I look forward to connecting again soon.
All right, Brei. Have a lovely one. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savfair.com and subscribe to our publication.